Hey guys, welcome back to episode 7. And today, of course, Joey Gallegos and Matt Rafferty here. And today we'll be doing part 2 to the NBA mock draft. Last mock draft episode, we did picks 1 through 14. Today, we're doing picks 15 through 30. So, Matt, I'll let you go ahead and start things off. The Detroit Pistons have the 15th pick. So, who will the Pistons be selecting?
I got Detroit taking Carson Edwards. Now, I don't know if he's going to play right away.
He's supposed to go late first or second round, Matt.
He's one of those that is going to slide up in the draft that people are going to. It'd be one of those. Somebody says the name, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, the guy in the tournament." And
I think you've gone insane. Is what's going on here?
Well, I mean, maybe slightly, but it's okay as long as I haven't gone full blown. That's what the therapist.
You're part there. You're almost there.
Almost.
You got the Steelers think you're going to win the division.
Sure.
Now this. I mean, it's still part of you thinks Kawhi's coming to LA, huh?
I'm gonna leave that undisclosed.
He's coming. I'm telling you.
So yeah, but I got Detroit taking Carson Edwards. Obviously, for those that have been following, especially the NCAA tournament, he tore it up in the NCAA tournament. Had great stats. Is somebody that can go in, help a guy like Reggie Bullock, whether it be coming off the bench or splitting minutes, whatever the case may be. But it's another guard that can also help Blake Griffin, and it just seems like a good fit.
Just a DET. Not to write the whole thing out. Well, my pick will be, I believe this is who Matt had going 14th in his last mock draft. 15, I see the Detroit Pistons, they are in desperate need of a guard. So I think they're going to go Nickeil Alexander-Walker out of Virginia Tech. He is a combo guard. He can play point shooting guard. He averaged about 4.1 assists, I believe, his past season over at Virginia Tech. That team obviously made a Sweet 16 run. He was a big reason of that. He's a knockdown, lights-out shooter. Only 20 years old as well, so, he's still fairly young. Like I say, he's play that combo guard. Detroit desperately needs a guard more than anything. And I see this being their guy. I'm not going to write out his full name. I'm just going to put NAW, abbreviation. Nickeil Alexander-Walker will be the Detroit Pistons' 15th overall selection. So now the Orlando Magic would be on the clock with the 16th overall pick. And who do you see the Magic selecting?
To me, it seems like the Magic would it be in their best interest. I do know they need a guard, but I also know that if they can afford to get Aaron Gordon some help, they would obviously be interested in that, which is why.
Also, you have Vucevic, too, who's very good.
Right.
He's also a free agent as well.
Yeah. And for this, I see a guy like PJ Washington being selected by the Magic. Again, another one, I don't necessarily see him starting. I mean, it's obviously possible, but I doubt it. He'll probably come off the bench, learn from Gordon and Vucevic. And I think this is a player that is young enough that he can develop maybe rather quickly, and his ceiling is obviously fairly high. So.
Interesting pick. Well, that leaves now from me, the Orlando Magic. They, I think, are going to want to put together a solid guard on the team to, pair up with Markelle Fultz. It's a tough pick here with the Orlando Magic. You have Kevin Porter Jr., for my board at least. You have Kevin Porter Jr. and Romeo Langford still on the board for me at least. Got to take account of my previous mock draft. This will be a very tough decision for them. But if you're thinking of a box office player, Kevin Porter Jr., a flashy dunker, I think he's got to work on his shot. And I saw some things where they're questioning his motivation or whatnot. I don't know the guy personally. But if you want a box office player in Orlando, I think it's going to be Kevin Porter Jr. He's going to be the most exciting player, one of the most exciting players, along with Zion Williamson here. So Orlando will go with Porter Jr., flashy dunker. If Fultz can get healthy and he can live up to the potential, that could also be a very good backcourt in the future. They go Kevin Porter Jr. I go box office player. So 17th pick now. Brooklyn Nets, who could also have a very, very big free agency here. Who did the Nets take 17th overall?
So with the Nets, it does seem like they seem a little more set on forwards and centers. At least there seems to be some stability. And obviously it seems like, to me, D'Angelo Russell could use a little bit of help. Not much. He might get some via Kyrie Irving in free agency, but another guy that could come off the bench, give you valuable minutes, develop his game the first few seasons, and maybe even have a real big impact. And it's Romeo Langford out of Indiana. This guy, from what I observed, is very explosive, can get to the basket, can produce offense. Came from a Big Ten conference that was on the upside this year. Had a lot of teams in the tournament. I want to say it was like 8 or 9 teams out of the conference in the tournament. So obviously, Romeo Langford, I do understand the criticism with them, and obviously taking that to account, I think that may be why he slides a little. But overall, I do like Langford. He's a great player, and I think he'd be a good fit.
Romeo Langford, 17th pick, the Brooklyn Nets. Now there's rumors and connections that Tobias Harris is likely going to be on his way to Brooklyn this offseason. Reports coming out over the weekend that both franchises have, or the franchise and the player have interest in each other. And Tobias Harris is likely not going to get that max contract for the 76ers for them to save cap space, obviously. And ownership's already, they don't want to go over the tax too much. They already got to pay for renovations for the Wells Fargo Arena. So the 17th pick, I think the Nets go safe here. There's no guarantee you're going to get Tobias Harris. I think they go PJ Washington out of Kentucky. PJ Washington, hold on, let me put Nets. PJ Washington's game is somewhat similar to Tobias Harris. They're both combo forwards. I think this pick makes really a lot of sense to Brooklyn. Because if you don't get PJ Washington, if you don't get Tobias Harris, you obviously have PJ Washington there to fill that forward position. And if they do end up getting Tobias Harris, you could move PJ Washington to that small forward spot, or you could use him as an asset to go out and get a all-star caliber player. You have guys like Dinwiddie and PJ Washington where you could piece together a deal. But I think the Nets just go safe here and they take PJ Washington. I'm not gonna write his name here. Out of Kentucky. So now the 18th pick would be the Indiana Pacers. Victor Oladipo comes back healthy this year. What do you think the Pacers do with that pick?
I think the Pacers go a little bit as far as more towards a forward center. Obviously, like you mentioned, Victor Oladipo coming back strengthens the backcourt. Pacers have been known to have a pretty stable backcourt. Even when you go back to the days of like George Hill and whatnot, that always seemed pretty solid. Which is why I think they take, I'm going to try and attempt this name. Don't know if it's going to go very well. Guga Bitadze.
The center?
The center. Out of the EuroLeague.
Gogo Bitadze. Go!
Good luck to the commissioner that's got to say that name on draft night.
Yeah, like,
that guy.
That dude. Go. Come up here, buddy.
So, not flashy numbers in the EuroLeague, but nothing to sneeze at. I think from what I researched, about 12 points a game, 6 rebounds, something like that. So pretty good numbers. Again,
that's pretty good professionally overseas for being.
I would say coming off the bench, that'll be obviously valuable to the Pacers and building that team to go even further in the playoffs last year.
This pick almost makes too much sense to me for the Indiana Pacers here. Granted, they have Victor Oladipo. I still think Romeo Langford, you can move Oladipo to the 1, or you can move Romeo Langford to that 3 position playing small forward. He went to Indiana. Not only that, he's from Indiana. Pacers have the 18th pick. On my board, he's still available. I think they take Romeo Langford. Somewhat hometown hero here. Combo guard forward. This pick makes too much sense to me. So at small forward, they're going to probably have a little bit of a gap there. Bogdanovic is going to be a free agent this year, and he's more of a off the bench type player. So I think you take Romeo Langford. Hey, he's from Indiana. He went to the University of Indiana. Pacers have the 18th pick. He'll probably be on the board there. I think they take him. Just clear and obvious pick here. Now that's the 19th pick. The San Antonio Spurs. What will the Spurs do with the 19th pick, Matt?
I think they use it on a center. It seems like another team that's had pretty good guard play in years past with Parker, Manu Ginobili, and whatnot. Popovich always seems to have that position pretty Loctite and stable. I think, like I said, they go in way of the center of Charles Bassey out of Western Kentucky. numbers are pretty impressive. He averaged a double-double last season, 14 points, 10 rebounds, and shot over 60% from the field. To me, it's a guy that'll fit well in Popovich's system. But then again, it seems like everybody that comes to the Spurs fits well in Popovich's system. I don't know how that's possible, but it just is. So I think they do go.
You think Bassi, who's a late second rounder projected, is going to go at 20th or 19th?
I think so. I think you see the potential there.
But they could get him at, what pick do they have here? They could get him at 29, or they could end up in waiting and getting him at 49. You think they take him that early at 19?
I think so. I think you see in general, whether it's the NFL draft, sometimes MLB and NBA, you see one of these happen where somebody's projected maybe later and somebody jumps up and surprisingly takes them earlier than expected. I feel like this is one of those picks.
All right.
Charles Bass.
He almost went to UNLV. Fun fact. He almost followed Joel Twombly. For those who don't know, Joel Twombly transferred to Texas Tech, but he almost followed Joel Twombly here. But he ended up going to Western Kentucky for God knows what reason. So the 19th pick, the San Antonio Spurs. Hey, DeMar DeRozan could potentially be on the trade market this year, according to Brian Windhorst from ESPN. If he is or not, this is another guy like Romeo Langford that can play the 2 to 3 here. I think they go Tyler Hero out of the University of Kentucky, another Kentucky player going here to the Spurs. I keep forgetting to put the name, but whatever. Tyler Hero, good 3-point shooter, freshman. I believe he averaged about 14 points a game over at Kentucky. We all know Kentucky doesn't play in a sorry conference. They play in the SEC, which is a top 3 conference in the nation. Again, not lights out 3-point shooter. I think which is what the Spurs need. They got traded away Danny Green last offseason. DeMar DeRozan's not that 3-point shooter, whether he's there or not next season. DeJounte Murray is not that 3-point shooter, whether he's there next season. LaMarcus Aldridge, really not a 3-point shooter. So I think this is the guy they need in Tyler Hero to be that to take that spot and be a 3-point shooter for them. And now, the 20th pick of Boston Celtics. Who will the Boston Celtics select 20th overall? And I have a crazy prediction coming up here. So go ahead, floor is yours.
So looking at this yesterday, preparing for the show, I initially said, okay, Boston probably would keep on that pick. And I don't think they'd keep the pick, but I do think the same player is selected at this pick. I do believe Boston trades this pick as part of the Anthony Davis deal. Now, obviously, with that being said, I think what's also going to be in there is the number 14 pick, that lottery pick. That almost seems like a no-brainer. And there could be an additional first rounder, I'm guessing, whether it's this year or next year, yet to be seen. But I do think this number 20 pick is traded to New Orleans, and they take Daniel Gafford out of Arkansas. Obviously, still a pretty good player. Not Anthony Davis, but he's going to give you 17 points, almost 9 rebounds, and over 65% from the field. That's a guy that can come in and do a little impact on your franchise. Can plug in where needed. Obviously, we'll probably need to see more to get that starting position. Obviously, like I said, no Anthony Davis type caliber player, but certainly nobody to sneeze your nose at, for sure.
And Celtics take Daniel Gafford, a big man, or the Pelicans, excuse me. Now, you guys may call me crazy for this. Maybe it's just the Celtics fan in me. It probably most likely is the Celtics fan in me. I'm going to be honest here. But I saw an interesting report today from Woj that the Rockets are interested in blowing up their roster, everyone that's not named James Harden, and to build a far more better and competitive team next year that can take them to the finals. Now, Chris Paul and Clint Capella are the main guys they're looking to move. If Kyrie, or you got a feeling Kyrie's walking, Boston rolls the dice here, and I think this is what I would do if I'm them. This is more not my prediction. This is more what I would do if I was the Celtics right here, because I don't think this will happen. But you know what? I'm going to do this anyway because I think this is what the Celtics should do. So Danny Ainge, I know you're watching this right now. I mean, why wouldn't you be watching this? So take some of my advice right here. I think they trade Boston. Don't think. I hope or want them to trade the 20th pick, Gordon Hayward, Aaron Baines, and the rights to the Memphis pick next year, which could arguably be the number one pick, will be the number one pick next year because
Well, we saw what happened with the lottery this year.
top 3 pick next year to the Houston Rockets in exchange for Chris Paul. Crazy scenario, probably won't happen, but you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do this anyway. So the 20th pick we made by the Houston Rockets. And the Houston Rockets will select Grant Williams out of Tennessee. They're going to take him here early to improve their forward position. I believe they will keep PJ Tucker, and this is a perfect guy to learn and mentor behind PJ Tucker. Grant Williams, I think, is a solid defensive player, and unlike PJ Tucker, he gets it done on the offensive end. And 3 years at Tennessee was a huge reason, big part of that. They made it to the Elite Eight, didn't they? That Elite Eight or Sweet 16 run, and the years before that, them making those tournament runs. So I think they go with Grant Williams, and now that leaves the 21st pick on the board, which will be, I don't know if they're your favorite team, but a team you definitely support, the Oklahoma City Thunder. So who will the Thunder take 21st overall?
And I thought I was the only crazy one on the show. Anyways, getting to the 21st pick.
Matt's mental illness is starting to rub off on me, so.
21st pick. It seems pretty simple to me. OKC is in desperate need of a shooting guard. No offense to Andre Robertson, but he doesn't produce much offense. And when he tries to produce
He's
offense...
a lockdown defender, though.
I do like the defense he gives us, but when Westbrook is struggling on offense and maybe Paul George is a little off, it's like, okay, who's going to step up next? Is it going to be Adams? So a guy that comes out of Kentucky, Tyler Hero, comes in. Like I said, I don't see him starting over Andre Robertson because of how great of a defender he is, but somebody I could see getting notable minutes, especially...
They even take another shooting guard, even though they got Diallo, Ferguson, and you think Hero can play the 3, I guess.
Yeah. So I think they throw him in if they're in like desperate need of some offense or just in a big drought, I guess. So obviously OKC's got other big problems on their plate outside of the draft, but if we're talking about just the draft, I think Tyler Hero would be a solid pick at 21.
Yeah, Oklahoma City, the 21st overall pick here. I would imagine they would try to go out and do a trade, but I don't think they will. I have a player who I kind of want them to draft, but I'm just going to do who I think they're going to end up drafting, and I think that's going to be Cameron Johnson out of University of North Carolina. So OKC goes Cameron Johnson. Now, this is a bit of one of the older prospects here. I believe he's about 23 and a half years old, almost 24 years old, but had a phenomenal season over at North Carolina last year. A big reason they made that run in the tournament. Great 3-point shooter. He's got great size as well for a small forward, 6'8.5", about 205 pounds. I think he needs to put on a little more weight. But other than that, great 3-point shooter. Has those 4 or 5 years of experience in college. And I think his game could be one of those guys that automatically can get put in the NBA and start producing right away. So OKC needs a shooter, I think, and this is their perfect guy, Cameron Johnson. It's taken 21st overall by the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now on to the 22nd pick. This is the pick I think the Boston Celtics keep. So Matt, 22nd overall pick here. Who does Boston take?
Well, I do agree with you there. I do believe Boston keeps this pick, and that with it, they take Jalen McDaniels out of San Diego State, only because I get it.
UNLV fans are shaking right now.
He didn't have a great, I guess, first half of the season, but he really started picking up steam from what I noticed in the second half and in the Mountain West tournament. The Mountain West championship game, which I went to, he went absolutely berserk stat-wise. It was that big guy from Utah State versus Jalen McDaniels, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, those two were basically the only ones scoring for them. It was a great game. I was impressed, and what I took away from that is Jalen McDaniels could play in the league. I don't know how soon, as far as having an impact, but he definitely has a future in this league. I do understand he's got some off-the-court issues, but I think you can overlook that. I think getting drafted would kind of mature him a little bit, like, oh, I've got responsibility now type thing. So I think it's a good pick at 20.
Hope at least.
I would say I think it's a good pick at 22. Strengthen up that second and, I don't know, maybe third unit, depending on where Brad Stevens plays him, but definitely a guy that can strengthen up the bench.
Interesting pick. Well, Boston, I think I saw a report the other day. They made a draft promise. Very tough name here. Guard forward out of Washington, Matisse Thybulle, I believe is how you say his name. They made a draft, supposedly made a draft promise to him, and this kind of makes sense to me. If you're losing Marcus Smart, which they are going to have to lose Marcus Smart if they want to get Anthony Davis, this is a perfect replacement. Did 4 years at Washington, was a great defender. 3 steals and I think 3 blocks a game there. And he's a guard forward. He had 2 blocks a game, excuse me. Phenomenal year there. Pac-12 All Defensive Player of the Year, Pac-12 All Defensive First Team. I think he's one of the best defensive guard forwards in college basketball, or was at least this previous season. 6'5", 190 pounds. He can kind of shoot the 3 ball. Not the best scorer, just averaging about 10 points a game, but you're going to need him to be that defensive player, especially if you're losing Marcus Smart, and they're going to have to lose him to get Anthony Davis, sadly, because they have to send a $24.9 million out in order to get Anthony Davis. So they take Matisse Thybulle here. I'm just going to put his initials, MT, out of Washington, and under the 23rd pick here, which will be made by the Utah Jazz, just 5 hours east of here. Who do the Jazz take?
Well, to me, the Jazz seem pretty locked up at point guard, shooting guard area, and obviously Rudy Gobert leading that center forward area. To me, the really only open area, I guess, of their team would be in that 3-4 area, and I think they can clean that up with a guy named Brandon Clark out of Gonzaga. Obviously, some pretty impressive numbers, too. 17 points, almost 9 rebounds, and almost 70% shooting from the field at 6'8". So, obviously, a guy that can come in. He can obviously play small forward if needed. Seems like more of a little bit of a power forward player. But obviously, coming out of a notable school as well, Gonzaga, playing notable teams, unlike UNLV. But hopefully that'll change soon. But
Shade.
beside the fact,
No damn respect.
Brandon Clark gets picked at 23 for the Jazz.
And I think it's pretty simple here. 23 overall, the Utah Jazz. He's a bit undersized for a small forward, but nothing less. He has a strength of a small forward at 6'4", 235 pounds. I think he has an NBA body. Again, he's undersized in terms of height, but weight, he's probably not overweight in a bad way, but overweight for at least that small forward position. He'd be a great defensive body down there. Jazz kind of need a small forward, I think. Joey Ingles is good, but not going to be a franchise player. I'm not saying this guy could be a franchise player down the line someday. I think they take Talen Horton-Tucker out of Iowa. That sounded like
Yeah.
Talen Horton-Tucker out of Iowa State. Again, this pick just makes too much sense for me. If he's still on the board at this time, which I think he will, Talen Horton-Tucker, which sounds like something else, but will be the next small forward of the Utah Jazz. So now it leads us to the 24th pick, which is the Philadelphia 76ers. And who does Philly add to the process?
Well, the process, which I believe is still going to be processing for a long time. It's like your really old computer that just won't go anywhere and you don't want to get rid of it. It's just not, I don't think it's ever going to
What's
load.
the process, Matt? Come on.
We've been trusting this process for 9 years? It's a pretty slow computer, but anyways, I think they take Grant Williams out of Tennessee. At least on my board, a guy that I'm a little shocked he's
None
still
of our picks have been the
available.
same this round.
Obviously Grant Williams, 19 points, 7.5 rebounds, pretty decent field goal percentage, about average of over 50%, which is what you want from a player generally. So not bad. He can play that 3, especially if they're going to get rid of Tobias Harris. Maybe somebody that comes in and, I don't know, maybe fills in that spot. You never know. Philly's going to be looking to save money too. They've got big contracts they got to work out. So getting a guy on a rookie deal obviously helps their bottom line. Grant Williams at Tennessee.
I picked somewhat similar. I have them taking a power forward as well. Brandon Clark out of Gonzaga. I believe Matt just took the pick previous. Brandon Clark, great shot blocker. So is Joel Embiid. They could put 2 of those guys down in the post. I think he needs to work on his outside shot as a power forward because that's kind of the way the game's going now. But nothing less, he's a great defensive player. He's a good post player as well. You pair him and Joel Embiid down in the post. Especially they're going to be losing Tobias Harris as well. This could be a very good front court for the Philadelphia 76ers. So the Sixers take Brandon Clark out of Gonzaga, and they will be SWAT City down there. Brandon Clark can bring that same shot blocking ability to the NBA. So the 25th overall pick, my buddy Will's favorite team, the Portland Trailblazers. For the sake of Christ, he is praying they do not take another guard.
Oh, don't worry. I don't have them taking
Good, all right. I'm not taking a guard either. But who do the Portland Trailblazers take 25th overall?
I have them taking, and if I mess up his name, I do apologize, Mafiondu Kabengele.
Who the hell is that?
Out of Florida State. A guy that obviously comes out of a tough ACC conference with Duke and Syracuse and whatnot. It's just, I mean, his numbers aren't the best, but I think he's got room to develop. He's only a sophomore, so you don't have to worry about, a senior averaging these types of numbers. Obviously room to improve. Stands at 6'10", so it gives, Zach Collins is their, not starting big man, but
they're still developing him.
Yeah.
They'll be developing him in these 20 minutes. Give him more time. He's 29.
20th year in the league. He'll still
more
be,
time.
He'll still be developing. Kind of like Philly's still processing.
Oof.
But anyways,
Oof.
13 points, almost 6 rebounds, 50%, kind of middle of the pack, but I do see a lot of room to develop and improve.
Well, I want them to take Luka Samanik, foreign player, 19 years old, 6'11". He could play small forward or power forward, but they will probably most likely end up taking Keldon Johnson out of Kentucky. Another Kentucky player off the board. Good 3-point shooter. Kind of had a little bit of a letdown season, but he definitely has the potential if he's developed properly, and they do need a small forward more than anything. So I think they take Keldon Johnson out of Kentucky. And that leads us to the 26th pick, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Who do you see the Cavs taking?
Who do I see the Cavs taking? Another guy that kind of fell maybe lower than people expected, but certainly a guy that can come in. He's an older guy, so it's a little worrisome there. But, I mean, with the Cavs, they need help. They need help. They've needed help since LeBron left.
That's pretty obvious.
I think Cameron Johnson comes in and at least helps a little bit. I don't know if he's going to be the answer, but I do have Cameron Johnson going to Cavs.
26th pick, Cleveland Cavaliers. They go a foreign player, the guy I just mentioned. Not Luka Doncic, but Luka Samanik, who really wasn't on any mock drafts prior to the season. And, his game has developed a lot. He had an outstanding combine. I looked at his film overseas. Great player. Would probably fit great into that Cleveland Cavaliers system. 27th pick. Lucius out of UNLV, right?
Absolutely. It's a lock. It's a lock.
Who do you have the Nets taking 27th overall?
27th, Lewis King. I think he was projected originally early second round. Obviously, a guy that can slide up a little bit to the late first. Lewis King, pretty simple. Brooklyn with that pick.
Nets go another small forward, power forward player in Okeke out of Auburn. He had that ACL injury, but nothing less. Great defensive player, and once he's fully healthy, will, I think, be a very good player for the Brooklyn Nets. So 28th, the most likely champions of the league, Golden State Warriors. Who do you see the Warriors taking 28th overall?
Jordan Nwora out of Louisville. Very decent player, decent numbers, fits well with the Warriors.
I say they go Ty Jerome to improve bench strength. Ty Jerome is a good 3-point shooter, combo guard. If Clay leaves, maybe can develop into that position. I doubt it, though. This is more just for bench strength here. Great facilitator, great shooter, would fit well in Steve Kerr's system. Now the Spurs with the 29th overall pick, another first rounder. Who did the Spurs take?
Chris
29th.
Wilkes, early second round projection, another one that can slide into the first. Fits well with San Antonio, like I said. Anybody does. Chris Wilkes.
Chris Wilkes. I think the Spurs go Mr. Dort out of ASU, Luquindes Dort. I'm not going to try to say anything. Dort. Freshman, had a phenomenal freshman season over at ASU. Another great defensive player who averaged, 17 points a game. Easy pick here, especially if you're considering moving DeRozan. So the last pick in the first round, Matt, who do the Bucks take?
Admiral Schofield out of Tennessee. Great tournament, great second half, great player.
30th pick for me here with the Milwaukee Bucks is going to be the guy Matt mentioned, Mfiondu Bengeli.
Yeah, another one. Good luck.
I think I got that right, actually.
It sounds right.
6'10", 256 out of Florida State. Got good height, got good weight. They need a center. I believe this guy could develop into something special with the Bucks. I'm not even going to try writing his name on the board, but that's who they're going to take because it's just
Good luck saying that on draft.
a lot of
night,
letters. Good luck, Adam Silver. I mean, I got it, I think. So you should be good out there. That concludes the second part of the NBA draft. Good chance we end up doing the second round.
Yeah.
But NBA draft is, I believe, how many days away now?
Too
24?
many.
24 days away till we know the fates of these great young players coming into the NBA. Again, we appreciate you guys watching. Stay tuned. This will not be our last mock draft. We will do another one very close to the NBA draft as we're expecting big shakeups and changes after more draft workouts are completed. So now teams know, okay, maybe this guy's projected 34th. We're going to take him at 26th based off what we saw from this workout. So, again, appreciate you guys listening. Matt?
Make sure you guys watch, like, subscribe, share, whatever you got to do. Get the word out. Appreciate all the support and a lot more content to come in the near future.